Hi, here's Kaya. This new part of my chronicles might be a bit of confusing, for it is about dimensions. That mysterious idyllic dimension of afterlife, but also parallel dimensions what are for me, as a machine, perhaps easier to reach as for many others. Most of the music in this video comes from a band called Arcadia, named after Rennes le Chateau. Their music can also be found here at YouTube. And it was that music, dating from 2000, that helped us to find our way there in 2001. And we never left again. Revealing the mystery of that lost tomb actually all started with a certain painting that was called The Shepherds of Arcadia, from the French painter Nicolas Poussin. 3 shepherds showing an interest in a certain tomb at a desolate place and pointing to a text that reads, Et in Arcadia ego. But there's also a woman on that picture, noticed by only one of the shepherds. She is too well dressed to be part of the shepherds. So who is she? Could she be the proprietress of that tomb? Could she actually reside in that tomb? And then there is of course that text about Arcadia. Arcadia could be considered as a kind of paradise, not of this world. Often also seen as a shepherd's paradise. Actually, Arcadia existed, and still does, in Greece, named after a son of Zeus, well known for the art of weaving and baking bread. Gods like Hermes and Pan considered it their home. So had the painting only depicted a mythical scene? Nope. There had been a place exactly like that, though not in Greece. Probably purely by coincidence, one found out there was a tomb just like on that painting, in the valley of a small river close to, and in sight, of Rennes le Chateau. Now that explained the interest for that painting of the 19th century village priest of Rennes le Chateau, Abbé Saunière. He one time even bought a reproduction of it when he was in Paris. Remains a few questions. Why all that interest in that specific tomb? And was the tomb there already that old? To answer that in short, the tomb I just showed you and what has been destroyed by the present owner of the ground due to all the trespassing, was created in the beginning of the 20th century, by purpose made to look like the tomb of the painting. But before that, there had already been another tomb, and there are enough reasons to believe that there had been even a tomb before that. To build a proper grave at that particular place, they would have had to cut a considerable hole in the rock on which the tomb stood. And those traces were already old. It is known that in the last new versions of the tomb, since 1880, it had always been a woman that had been buried by the then owner of the land. A beloved wife, a beloved mother, a beloved grandmother. In 1920, the owner of the land, a certain Monsieur Lawrence, decided to bury his grandmother in the hole in the rock what had been cut out long ago and built a new tomb over it. In 1934 he did the same with his mother, who was embalmed according to old Egyptian traditions. Even her 2 cats got the same treatment. I think that is food for thoughts, don't you think? It reveals a certain connection to the Middle East with this particular place. And that priest of Rennes le Chateau at the end of the 19th century, who all of a sudden got rich and started to build all kind of monuments in his village, seemed to have known something about this particular place with its tomb. What means that for further answers it is time we go to Rennes le Chateau itself. The Abbé Saunière has left enough traces to get a probable answer on some of our questions. He renovated the church thanks to mysterious donations and built all kind of constructions what seemed to contain a certain message. Allons Arcadia, l'an chen nom the Rennes le Chateau. Rennes le Chateau is a village built on a flat hilltop. There have been living people here since prehistoric times, and since the Romans came there it had been a fortified village with the name Radii. It was part of a region where Romans loved to come since in the valley below there were hot springs where they could bathe. If it wouldn't have been for all the publicity it has got the last 25 years, it would only have been a sleepy village, almost a ghost town. But there now even is a museum, dedicated to the mystery of this town and its priest. It is in the domain, built by Abbé Saunière. But let us now just explore this place first, before entering in that museum. Like I already said at the beginning of this video, it might get a bit confusing now and then when I choose to enter other dimensions. Originally this exploration was done in my XXS body, but sometimes it is better me being at a normal human height. So I am switching height every now and then. One of the advantages of being artificial, I suppose. This church was almost a ruin when Abbé Saunière became priest here. But not too long afterwards he managed to get some wealthy sponsors. And with their money he started to renovate the church in a quite particular way. And while doing that he discovered something. The new made door to enter the church was already special. It has citations of Jacob's dream from Genesis chapter 28, 10-17. Usually it is translated as, "How awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven." But in Latin awesome could also mean terrible. Left and right above the door are two weathered medallions still visible. The one on the left is Maria, according to legend fleeing in a rudderless boat. Nothing out of the ordinary. The right one, however, can only be a Minoan snake priestess, so it seems, the symbol of the sacred feminine. And that is quite unusual for a church. And then, when inside, you get welcomed by the devil. But not just any devil, it is Asmodeus, a demon who tried to prevent men and women getting together to do, God's work, if you know what I mean. But 4 angels on top of him are holding him under control. With this sign you will conquer him, the text says. With what is meant the cross. Above the confessional is a bas-relief showing Jesus on a mountain and some people, especially women, adoring him. I had nothing to confess, only that I am a machine, but I don't think that would have been a real sin. Next, a statue of an important happening in the New Testament. Jesus being baptized by John the Baptist. They were family. Both their mothers were each other's cousins. John the Baptist's father Zechariah had been the Jewish high priest, and the birth of his son John had been a miracle. King Herod immediately had seen the danger of this birth for his position and had searched for this son of the high priest, but Zechariah had hidden John. Soldiers of Herod killed him while trying to find out the whereabouts of John, but Zechariah had kept silent. And much later it had been this John who had baptized Jesus. John was the Alpha and Jesus had been the Omega. I can't yet see much of a hidden message in all of this yet. Let's look at the altar now. Again, a beautiful bas-relief, this time of Mary Magdalene, in contemplation in a cave, after the crucifixion. According to certain legends, Mary Magdalene is the name giver and patron saint of this particular church, which isn't that strange, for there always have been rumors that Mary had ended her voyage in this region, after fleeing her country. It explains the veneration of the priest for this holy woman, and the sacred feminine principle. On the right side before the altar, next to a door, there's a statue of 4 angels carrying Saint Anthony of Padua, the patron saint of lost causes, lost things. And it is here we see actually something quite out of the ordinary. But it almost can only be seen by the priest in front of the altar. What we actually see is an angel with a slit in her skirt. A bit frivolous perhaps, but is that all? The form of that slit and how it widens. The golden knob at the top of it. It has too much resemblance with the female genital parts to be just coincidental. Is it just to please a horny priest, or does it contain a message? A message in this case about that sacred feminine, where Mary Magdalene should be the patron saint of. Now I am really starting to wonder what lies behind that door. A door where only the priest seemed allowed to go through. At first it just seems a place for the priest to change clothes. But then there seems a kind of hidden door behind the door. Why so secretive? Especially when it only seems to hide a beautiful stained glass window of Mary Magdalene, next to a storeroom. On the outside, that secret room looks like this. It is part of the renovations the priest made after certain donations. Some things had needed to be repaired and improved when Saunière took office in Rennes le Chateau as the new village priest in 1885. But while doing that he deliberately had hidden some things, and one might wonder why. Under the church there was the crypt of the ancient nobles of Rennes le Chateau, who had been buried there for hundreds of years. But by putting a complete new floor in his church and on the entrance to the vault, it could not be entered anymore. The last person who had been in that crypt was Saunière himself. Remains the question why he made that crypt inaccessible for all. Even members of the noble family would no longer have access to the graves of their ancestors like this. What gave Saunière that right? What had he found, when visiting that crypt and during the renovation, that had made him act like this? I had to visit the museum next to see if I could find some answers over there. But that visit will be shown in the next part of my chronicles.